Welcome, everyone, to the Lofi Podcast. Today, my guest is Patrick, otherwise known as Greyware. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, man.
Matt, you're most welcome. It's great to have you on. I mean, you're so active in so many lo-fi communities and Discord and all over the place, so it's great to finally be able to speak to you and chat a little bit about the subject.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what's funny, and I don't know if you know this, but when I started doing lo-fi, I was probably about a year into it, and I'd never done a collab before, and you were my first ever collab. Yeah, you and I did a track, and it went out on Elizabeth Lo-Fi, I think, and that was my first ever time working with somebody else in the lo-fi community. So thanks for easing me into that, man. It was cool.
Yeah, you're most welcome, and thank you so much. I really love that track, and in fact, that track is one of the favorite tracks that I've made that my dad listens to.
Oh, nice.
Like anytime he listens to it, he absolutely loves the guitar you added to it. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. So here, just to get us started, could you tell us a little bit about yourself outside of lo-fi? So who is Greyware?
Yeah. So I'm Patrick. I'm by day I'm an IT director for a large company here in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I live. I'm a husband. My wife and I have been married now it'll be 23 years this year. We got two kids, 15 and 12, who are both super active in theater and musical theater. So kind of my world revolves around that more than anything else. It's more of a go to work, come home, and where are the kids going to be tonight for rehearsals or shows and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I'm guessing music runs in the family then, does it?
It does, yeah. Besides my kids, I grew up playing music. I grew up with my parents actually. My parents and I have three older siblings, and they all sang together in churches, and they would like travel around different churches and sing. I was too young, but I kind of picked up the music bug from them, started beating around on pots and pans in the kitchen and playing guitar and stuff like that. And my dad taught me three chords on the guitar because that's all he knew. And yeah, so my whole family, and then now passed it on to my kids. We're all a little bit musical. My wife is actually a sculptor. So she's not musical, but the art, we kind of keep the art running in the family with that kind of stuff too. So
yeah, that's an amazing environment to have grown up in and also now be in as well with your wife. And so yeah, hopefully your children take that and pass it on and it just keeps on going.
Oh man, I hope so. They're far more talented than I am. So hopefully.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. So we can wait and see what the future holds.
Yes, right.
Yeah. So yeah, but you kind of already answered a little bit of my next question there. So like I was going to ask, how did you get into music? Like, and what was your musical journey like? So
yeah. So starting off, it was with my family beating on pots and pans in the kitchen and making mom mad, and then my dad bought me my first guitar when I was around 12 or 13, which is actually I still have it back here. Said 1988. I bought it in 88 used, so it's a really old guitar. But I still play it all the time because it's like home, you know. But yeah, I grew up and I played in some punk bands through high school. Me and some buddies got together, just kind of thrashed around with a bunch of punk stuff. And I played both guitar in some, then I played drums in some, and then I played drums in the marching band in high school. Then bands all through college, and it was just kind of all I ever wanted to do is I went to school and I did my studies, but I really just wanted to play music and ditch my studies, which I ended up doing a little too much of probably. But then for the last 15 years or so, I've been playing. Up until about 2 years ago, I had to drop out because my kids got so busy I couldn't keep the schedule going. But I was playing guitar for a Celtic rock band and doing a lot of like Flogging Molly, Dropkick Murphys type stuff, and that was tons of fun. Still tons of fun. And the band is still playing. They got a new guitar player. I had to bow out because I was just too busy. But yeah, it's always just been something I've done. I've piano lessons growing up, and all it kind of built into I guess what I do now, which is kind of merge all those things together and make whatever it is I make.
Yeah, that's amazing. And the fact that you have a background being a multi-instrumentalist as well, like I'm sure that helped whenever you slowly flowed into making lo-fi as a genre, right?
It did, yeah. It was funny. I hadn't really played piano in many, many years. So when I decided to start just kind of venturing into lo-fi just to see if I could do it. That was kind of it is still kind of a learning curve for me. It's the one thing I feel the least comfortable with when I'm playing.
Yeah, no, that's good. And so, like you mentioned there, you played in punk bands and you're in a Celtic rock band until a few years ago. So those are very different to lo-fi. So, like,
Yeah.
kind of, so off those more, upbeat, hard-going music genres, how did you get into lo-fi? Because it's so different. It's almost like polar opposites.
Yeah, it really is. I guess I've always liked. Uh, so I, when I wasn't playing music with the groups, a lot of stuff that I would play for myself was a lot slower, a lot softer, a lot. It kind of mellowed me out, and it kind of helped tap into more of a softer side. And um, right when the pandemic hit, and that's when I first got word of or got wind of lo-fi and really started listening to it, and I loved it, and I started listening to it a lot. And when I left the band in 2022, 2023, I knew I still wanted to do something. I can't really be a singer songwriter because I'm a terrible singer. The thing I thought was, well, maybe let me try taking some of the stuff that I do that I don't think anybody's going to listen to, but maybe if I can morph it into more of a lo-fi style thing, then maybe that'll be more palatable for some folks. So it was just more of a me wanting to stay creative, and I really enjoyed the softer sound of the lo-fi and the more chill, mellow out stuff. And especially as I'm getting older, it's hard to do the punk stuff when you're 51 years old. You want to do it, but your knees don't want you to do it.
Yeah, no, it's interesting that, yeah, as time went on, because it's reminding me of whenever I started to produce music, and I originally thought that I could try some singer songwriter stuff. And then I had the same issue where I realized that I unfortunately just don't have the voice for it. So, and then
That's a hard thing to realize, isn't it?
it is. It is. It's quite disappointing whenever you realize it. But then, yeah, it forces you to sort of adapt and figure out how you can utilize the musical skills you have in the best way possible.
It does indeed. And for somebody that can't sing, you have a perfect voice for podcasting, though. I mean, you really do.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I got told that a lot. I have, yeah, I did. I have a vivid memory of 2 years ago whenever I was helping out with a summer camp team, and they gave me a thank you card. And so the rest of the team were with me, and I opened the card and I read it with my podcast voice, and and so then they just all sat there, and then immediately afterwards, I remember one of them saying to me, you should really start reading audiobooks. They would really put me to sleep." So, I mean, yeah,
That's not a bad idea, man.
Yeah, I know. You never know. It could be something to do in the future. So, but yeah, getting back on track then with lo-fi and music. Yeah, so you got into lo-fi, but so how did you get into music production? Because I know production is quite different from playing music live. And so where did that start?
So I went to college for audio engineering many years ago. I didn't finish college, but that's what I went for. So I've always had a big interest in it. I ran sound here and there for some guys. I really love the whole aspect of it, which is different than production, but it's just something that's always attracted me. And back just before just before I had left the band that I was in, some buddies of mine from high school had reached out and said, "Hey," and by this time we're all, they're from high school. We're scattered across the world. One guy's in across the country. One guy's in Australia. I'm here in Cincinnati on the East Coast, and they were like passing a track around and they said, "Hey, Patrick, can you put some guitars on this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'll give it a shot." And that's when I realized I really didn't have a good way to record guitars myself at home. So I ended up buying a little iRig thing that plugged in my iPad and recorded my guitar parts in the garage band and sent it off to him. And then I was like, that was fun, but I really want to do more of this now. I went out and I got me an audio interface, and instead of spending money on guitars and effects and amps, I ended up spending money on interfaces and a DAW and plugins.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. So it was kind of a journey where you started with just one guitar track and it flourished from there, sort of.
It did. It's after I did it, I was like, that was fun, and I want to do more of this, but I can't keep doing this on an iPad. I have to actually like pony up some money and really kind of get serious about it if I want to record stuff and send it out. And it was about the same time I was really getting the bug to start recording stuff of my own. I had a gazillion ideas I've recorded on my phone that I was like, I need to start getting this stuff out there.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. And so I'm trying to imagine now. So whenever you started getting into DAWs and so on, like how did you get to choose the DAW that you eventually used and things like that? Because I know a lot of people who listen to this podcast are kind of new to producing lo-fi and so on, and they're at the beginning of their journey. So like, how did you finally
Yeah.
settle on those things?
Well, so a long time ago, I was using kind of a hacked version of Ableton, and I loved it. And it was a copy that my buddy had given me. It was back before you do all your licensing online. So I started to go that direction, but Ableton's pretty daggone expensive. It's phenomenal software, and I love watching videos of guys use it, and I liked using it, but it was really expensive. Um, and I'd had a little bit of experience with Cubase, which is what I use now. Cubase is also expensive, but they have a version called Elements. So it was a little stripped back. I think it was 130, $140 for Cubase Elements. And one of the reasons I chose it over Ableton's lower tiers is Ableton had a cap of like, I forget what it was, 12 tracks, 20 tracks, 24 tracks, whatever it was. Cubase Elements doesn't have that limitation. It's pretty much an unlimited DAW for the most part, and what you can do with it. The only limitation, which is really frustrating when I'm doing collaborations with other people, is with Cubase Elements, I can't just say export all of my tracks to individual tracks to share these stems out. I have to literally solo a track, export it, solo the next track, export it. So I could spend an hour and a half there just exporting these tracks out for to share with somebody else. That part's irritating. But other than that, it was more of a matter of cost. And I've thought about, I probably will upgrade Cubase, but I'm so comfortable with it now that I don't really see myself moving. Because I really think it's all, I mean, they all do the same thing under the hood, right? It's just, what looks better to you, what makes more sense in the way it flows and the way it works. So that's kind of my take on it. Whatever fits for you.
Hmm. No, I definitely have to agree because whenever I started off with music production, I was experimenting with different DAWs. So the first DAW I ever played with was made by a company called Magix, simply called Music Maker.
Yes, I remember
yes,
that.
right,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
So
That's
I was
awesome.
I was about 10 at the time whenever I got that, and so it was great fun. And then after that, I moved on to Fruity Loops, but at that
Mhm.
time, I could never really get the hang of it. And so then I sort of forgot about music production for a few years. And so, yeah, similar to a lot of other people in the lo-fi scene, I sort of got into it again around 2020, 2021, and experimented with, what's it? There's one by Presonus. I forget the name of it. Um, I can see it in
I
my
know which one you're
head.
talking about. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know which one you're talking about. I can't remember the name of it.
yeah, I think it's Studio One, is it, or something like that?
It may be. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't know. I can't remember.
yeah, it's one of those DAWs. And then after that, I then jumped to working with Logic. And so I've been stuck with that for the past couple of years. But like each DAW, it was, although it's a different way of getting to the final goal of producing the track, they all kind of have the same capabilities. So it's just whatever one you find the most easiest or the one you're used to, and just gets that idea that you have in your head out there the easiest. So,
Yeah, that's it. I know. I tried Reaper for a bit, and I know Cucamello, who's been on your podcast. He's a good dude. He's a big Reaper guy, and I've tried it, and I just I don't know. It just didn't work for me. I mean, it's pretty cheap. I think it's $60 or something like that, and it's pretty cheap and it's pretty powerful software. But it just the workflow just didn't click for me.
yeah. So, But one thing that we were discussing actually when coming up with some of the ideas for questions for this episode, you mentioned making music that's emotionally attached. And so like how do you go about making kind of tracks that mean something to us as the artist or as the producer?
Um, well, it really is a great question. I often think that I'm not going to release something that I can't click with. Um, it's I've probably got 150, 200 tracks on my computer that I just don't. They were a good idea when I started off with, and now they just don't fit. I don't feel them. Maybe sometime I will. Maybe in a year I'll listen back to them and be like, oh yeah, I had one earlier 2025 that had sat on my hard drive for probably a year and a half, and I kind of forgot about it. And one day I stumbled across it, and I kind of liked it, and I tweaked it a little bit, and ended up going on a comp over at Lofi Castle. And but if I don't click with it, I can't really release it because I kind of feel like if I like it, I'm not that weird a guy, right? So if I like it, somebody else out there is going to like it. Somebody else out there is going to connect with it emotionally. So, but it's really all about uh, well, not every day, but most days I'll come down and I'll beat on something. The day I'll kind of let the day wash over me, and I'll play something. If I feel it, I feel it, and I'll start fleshing it out and save it. If I don't, then it was at least some therapy, and kind of got that out of my system. So, but I think it's all about just being true to yourself and um, not trying to copy others, not trying to be something you're not. I fight that a lot. There's so many like great jazz lo-fi stuff out there, and I love listening to that stuff, but I cannot make it. It just doesn't. It's not me. It doesn't fit me, and I want it to so bad, and it makes me so mad. I see these guys release this stuff, and I'm like, God, that's so good, but I just it's not in me to do, and it feels it's just disingenuous if I try to. I mean, I'm confident enough that I could fake something and make it out there, but it wouldn't feel right to me. And I think maybe naively, I think others can notice if something's not really genuine to the person that's creating it.
Hmm. Yeah, I can understand that as well. Because whenever I listen to specific lo-fi tracks, especially in that lo-fi jazz genre, I've tried to make it before, but anytime I do, it just falls apart.
Yeah,
It's
it does.
it's almost as if none of the tracks gel together, and you end up actually more frustrated at the end of it than whenever you start it.
You do,
And
yeah.
yeah, and so it's almost as if that yeah, you as you say, you kind of have to be true to the art that that you just naturally make and naturally produce, and you kind of have to. There's a certain sense of satisfaction that we sort of get whenever we just let it flow and don't try to force ourselves to be like someone else.
Yeah,
Yeah, and sort
there
of
there
it's
is.
yeah, it's just being
Yeah.
honest, I think.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, it was also frustrating for me is I grew up loving hip hop. I grew up listening to Public Enemy, Tribe Called Quest, Eric B. and Rakim. Loved these guys growing up, and creating true like lo-fi hip hop. I'm okay with the sleepy beats. That's kind of like my lane is the sleepy beats and stuff like that. But it frustrates me that I can't do more of the true like dusty hip hop stuff because I kind of grew up on those beats, and I hear them and I love them, but it doesn't feel like me when I'm creating. I feel like I'm faking it, and that just irks me. So
Yeah. But I think despite that, we still somehow manage to merge a little bit of those genres that we like into what we create. I
we
mean,
do, yeah.
yeah, it's not exactly the same genre or the same style, but we glean a little bit from each branch, and it eventually becomes sort of this sort of genre salad that we make, if that's the
Yeah.
right word.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think everything you listen to, it ends up coming in your stuff one way or the other. And whether we notice it or not, or whether anybody else notices it, it's in there.
Yeah, it's almost as if sort of the journey that we've been on until that point, it shapes the art that we make. So
It does, yeah.
mhm. Yeah. And so, well, we can make music that's emotionally attached, but I think sometimes we kind of force it a little bit too much and it can be all over the place. And so, how do you think it's good to sort of have restraint and keep things a bit more simple in the music that we produce?
Um, for me, restraint is I always want to make guitar parts too busy. I want to make everything too busy, really, and it doesn't fit for, especially if you're doing the more sleepy style stuff. It doesn't really fit. Um, One of the things I do a lot is I almost mix by subtraction. Like my finished product may have 8 tracks, 9 tracks in it, but I've probably got 25 or 30 that I recorded in there. And then I just start subtracting things as I mix it. I'm like, man, I really love this, but it just doesn't fit. And or what was I thinking here? This is stupid. I need to just get rid of this completely. Or this may be cool for a different track. Let me save this elsewhere and maybe come back to it in the future. So I think uh, self control is a hard thing for me with that kind of stuff. It's something I'm always fighting on every track. But I think everybody should. I think everybody should, you know, get your ego out of the way, and just do what you think fits the song, what you think the song should sound like. Um, so yeah, I think practicing restraint in that regard is pretty big. What's the old saying about keep it simple, stupid, or something like that, and that's yeah. So that's kind of my take on lo-fi. Plus, I'm not in this to make money, right? So the last thing I want to do is frustrate myself to death with making tracks that are too overly complicated or all that. So if it sounds good, it is good. So keep it simple.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep it simple, stupid. I have an old friend who likes to say that a lot. I would play music with him, and yeah, sometimes whenever we're like things are not going right, he would just say "kiss," KISS. Keep it
That's
simple,
right.
stupid. Yeah.
That's right, man.
So, but yeah, holding that kind of restraint, it leaves a lot of air in the track, for it to breathe. I think like music is it's almost like a living being. It needs that moment to breathe, because if you're exhaling all the time and all of the sounds coming out, you eventually you run out of air. And
Right. Yeah.
so yeah, I kind
Absolutely.
of and so you sort of have, once you have those moments of silence or you pull back a bit, you're allowing to inhale, just replenish your oxygen supply, and then you can go out again. So it's almost as if, yeah, it's this living, breathing art form.
It is. I had a music teacher when I first got into middle school. I played trumpet for 1 year, and I wasn't that great at, which is why I moved to drums. But our band director preached at us that a rest is in there. They wrote the rest in for a reason. The rest has a very important part in this music, and that's for let the music breathe and let things happen naturally. So
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah, let it breathe.
Absolutely. That's reminded me of my first piano teacher I had whenever I was younger. And yeah, she used to say that during those times you see a rest on the page, take that for you to physically have a breath as well. And that gives you that little bit just to take a rest, take a moment, and then you can start whatever's next in the piece.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So so back to multi instruments. Then you play piano and guitar as well, right?
yeah, piano, guitar, and the bass guitar they're the kind of three that I play. So,
Yeah, same here.
that's
Well,
amazing.
and drums, yeah.
Yeah, no, drums unfortunately is the one that I never allowed to bring into the house. My mum specifically banned me from ever getting a drum kit. So yeah, but otherwise I would have loved to play it. So maybe in a few years' time, if I'll be able to get a kit of my own, and I
Oh
can always
man,
start.
they're so much fun. Hey, I mean, they have the electronic kits, which are cool, but man, there's nothing better than getting an actual acoustic kit in front of you and just wailing. It's a lot of fun. It's a good therapy session.
Yeah, because I have a friend and his main instrument is the drums, and yeah, anytime I see him play, and I'm kind of thinking, yeah, this is so cool. Like it's because I used to think of percussion as kind of just something in the background, but the more I think about it and the more I hear it, it's really essential, and it's the instrument that almost holds everything together in some songs.
It really is, especially in a lo-fi world. Some of the percussion is just is crucial to the whole track.
Hmm. Yeah. Some tracks are like in the lo-fi, it's just a drum beat with sort of a pad and a light melody in the background. So,
Yeah, it is. I was in a band once, and uh, whether it's agreeable or not, I'm not sure. But the guy, I was playing guitar, and the bass player said, "Look, man, this is rock music. As long as the bass and drums are together and syncing and we're rocking, you can play Mary Had a Little Lamb. Nobody's going to care. We're the end is keeping it all up." And I'm kind of like, I get that a little bit. So, see, I do believe the drums are kind of the key to the whole thing.
hmm, yeah, absolutely. Like, especially just a little drum fill, it can add so much to a track. Yeah, so that's the thing. Whenever I'm doing lo-fi collaborations, and whenever I started doing collaborations, because drums was the instrument I never learned to play, it was always nearly me working mostly on melody, and then the collaborator would mostly work on the percussive side of things because I had not a clue. And so I'm really thankful for all the people I've collaborated with because they've taught me so much on how to just make percussion that bit more interesting and that bit more, yeah, it's just necessary to the track.
It really is. I love collaborating. It's I've learned so much from people, man. Um, there's so much that I like working by myself too. But when you're collaborating and bouncing ideas off other people, and they'll send you tracks, and it's just a great way to learn. It's a great way to I learned a lot from the first one I did with you. I wasn't even sure how to share tracks with other artists at that time, and so just learning how people work, what their flows are, and kind of taking little pieces of that and adding it to your own arsenal. I have a playlist that I keep in my Spotify that I just call it Lo-Fi Learn or something like that, and it's literally just songs that I'll hear, and I'm like, hey, that's cool. That drum beat or that guitar lick or whatever the sound is, that's cool. I want to figure out how to do that. So I'll throw it into this little playlist of mine, which has like 30, 40 songs in it. And then I'll go back and listen sometimes and be like, yeah, now I need to figure out how he did that because I want to do that. What sucks though is that sometimes I'll go back and listen and I'm like, why did I add this? I don't understand what I'm looking for. I need to make notes to keep track of this.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the great things about collaboration is that we can always learn from each other. Like,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, and the lo-fi community, like it's almost as if everybody in it's so genuine and that we're willing to help each other as well. And that's what I love about it. We can reach out to someone and say, "Hey, I've got this track. Would you like to add something to it?" And yeah, there's a level of honesty there that I really love.
There is, man. The whole lo-fi community is phenomenal, I think. I don't think I've come across anyone that I didn't really appreciate and like. Everybody's so nice and they're willing to offer up opinions and help you out, and you don't really get uh, uh, any attitude or egos coming at you. It just truly seems like a very helpful community. I am so glad I stumbled into that in Discord and kind of wandered into that community because it's just chock full of great people.
Yeah, and absolutely. And you're definitely a great addition too. It's just great seeing you in so many different chats and, helping people and just chatting there as well too. It's so thank you for being a great addition to the community.
Oh, thanks, man. I like to be the cheerleader sometimes, right? Like I see you guys, and you guys are spitting out tracks like every week. You guys got tracks coming out, and sometimes multiple tracks in a week, and I can't keep that pace up. I get between working 50, 60 hours a week and wife and kids. I can't keep that pace. Um, so because I can't, I like to just kind of cheerlead everybody else and be like, yeah, man, go. This is a great track. I really, the other day I commented on someone's, and I don't even know the guy, but he put out a track that had, I forget who it was now. But he released it on Beach Tree Records, and I love the acoustic sound in it. And so I just commented on him, and tagged him, like, hey, I don't know you at all, man, dude, but this is a great track. I love it, man. This is awesome. And so yeah, that's kind of my role, is just kind of be the happy cheerleader guy and pepper in tracks whenever I get time.
Yeah, well, it's much appreciated. So thank you so much. Yeah, so collaborations I think are really interesting as well because sometimes we can get burnout from sitting and trying to make so much music and it's difficult to stay creative. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, and sort of we can help each other to get out of that little musical rut.
Yeah, I'm actually probably a little bit of a rut now, a little bit of a burnout because after Christmas and the holidays, it just I was just kind of like, oh, I need to chill for a while and not touch things. But yeah, I think the only way to get out of a rut is to work yourself out of it. I'll come downstairs in my little area here. I'll come downstairs, and if I'm not feeling it, I'll just force it. I'll force something out of me, whether I like it or not. And oftentimes, what I'll do is I try to force what I want to feel. Like if I come downstairs and I've had just a rotten day, work has ticked me off, or so whatever's happened. I'll come downstairs and I don't want to be mad. I want to be happy. Then I'll try to write something happy. I'll kind of force it. Or if I recently did one where I did a collab with a guy, and it's freezing cold here right now. We've been between the teens and the 20s in temperatures all this time. So uh, I wrote like a summary track because I wanted to be warm. I was tired of being cold, so I was thinking warmth. I was thinking that's what I wanted to be, and so yeah, I think. Getting out of those ruts is you just have to force it. You have to keep working at it, and especially realize that most of the stuff you're doing during that rut is not going to be what you want it to be. And working with others is tremendous. Doing collabs with others is tremendous in that, because if you're stuck in a rut and you can't figure out what to do, somebody's going to have a track out there and be like, "Hey, I need something on this." You're like, "I can do that. This sounds phenomenal. I'd love to be a part of this." And just working on that piece can help you get out of your own creative rut and kind of your own burnout, kind of bring more out of you. I think so. I think working with others, whether it's in person, in a band setting or a co-songwriter setting, or doing it online, I think it's the benefits always outweigh the negatives when it comes to that.
Yeah, definitely. I can relate where there's a time that I was actually asked to make a track by a label. They asked me, could you try to make something in this style? And I was not in that mood at all, and so, yeah, whenever you mention, you're maybe not in the best mood at all, but at that point I got a message and they said, here, could you make something sort of an upbeat, happy spring acoustic feel? And yeah, I just sat down and I told myself, I'm going to do this. And it somehow worked out to be one of my favorite tracks that I've produced. And it's coming out in a few months, but yeah, it's interesting that, yeah, sometimes we shouldn't just, listen to how we're feeling in that moment, and that, we can work past that. It's something that, and then if we can't work past it, we can ask others to help us. And that's it's the beauty of collaboration.
It is, and the beauty of music, and it took me a long time to figure this out for myself. That what's always amazed me about music is you're listening to something, and my mood always kind of follows what I just listened to. For example, I love Radiohead, absolutely love Radiohead. Because of that, I'm often a little depressed, but that's okay. I love, but their music can put me in different moods. Same with most music, if I'm feeling chipper and then I hear something angry, I can get a little angry. If I hear something kind of sad, I start feeling a little sad. So there's no reason that we can't do that to ourselves with what we write. I want to feel this way. Let me see if I can make something that makes me feel the way I want to feel right now.
Mm-hmm. That's a really interesting way to think of things. I'll have to try to implement that sometime soon whenever I'm making music, yeah, someday.
It doesn't always work.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work, but yeah.
Maybe if it doesn't work out and you're angry, you just get worse, but.
That's right. Is there such a thing as like death metal lo-fi? We could try that.
I don't know. We could try. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because of late, I find that the lo-fi genre, there's been a lot of branching out with people sort of experimenting with sort of merging different styles. So maybe not death metal lo-fi, but
yeah, that probably won't work. But no, it is cool to see. where different people are going with a lot of stuff. I don't know how long it's been around, but when I first started hearing the folk hop lo-fi stuff, like probably about a year ago is when I really first started keying into. Oh, I'm hearing a little bit. I hear you do a lot of that now. You're doing a lot of that kind of the folk hop type stuff. Northern Drift is a guy that does a lot of folk hop stuff. He's really good at that stuff too. So that stuff's really cool. I love to try. I love to play it. My biggest issue is I could never get a good enough recording of my acoustic that I like. So I still need to figure out the best way to get that recorded. But yeah, no, I love how people just kind of, like we said earlier, they'll take their experiences from other genres and life in general, and that morphs into their music. So it's there's all sorts of branches going out there with lo-fi. It's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it is really cool to see. And yeah, folk hop, as you said, that's sort of the genre that I found recently that sort of resonates with me. And it's not the biggest genre out there. I mean, that definitely still sleepy and jazz lo-fi, but it's like whenever you don't chase numbers and you don't chase streams, but you kind of just make the music that resonates with you, it doesn't really matter, you know?
You're right. Yeah. No, it does, and you're really good at it. Your stuff always makes me kind of happy when I hear it because it's always got that little perk to it with the folk, and a lot of the folk hop stuff does. It's really cool to hear. And yeah, you're right. It's not the most popular out there. I think that might change though. I mean, because it's what I like about it too is it just feels natural. You already got the natural acoustic guitar going. Um, I'm a sucker for natural sounding drums. I don't like to use one shots that sound too computerized or too inauthentic. I like more authentic type drum sounds, much to my not always to my benefit, because sometimes I make tracks and I'm like, yeah, I probably should have done something that doesn't sound quite like an actual snare there, but it's what I it's what I like. I really love the sound of drummers in coffee shops, and so sometimes I try to imitate. Hey, what would a little jazzy drummer in a coffee shop do here? Just behind a sleepy beat, would he do like maybe a little brushes on a snare or something like that? And so, I have no idea where I was going with that now. Now I started thinking about that. I was like, oh yeah, I screwed up so many songs doing that, and I kind of lost my train of thought.
Yeah, but no, it's yeah, it's just sitting and making that genre of music that just resonates with you rather than going after playlists or streams.
Oh, that's
It's
right. Yeah.
it's so much more satisfying, if that makes sense. Because you're not annoyed then if it's a massive track or if it's a small track. The streams are just they're a bonus, if that makes sense.
Yes, they are. Yeah, I did find myself. I'm watching numbers more than I should. Seeing how many monthly streamers or listeners am I getting? How many streams does this track get? And yeah, if you get wrapped up in that, it's not really about the music anymore. That if you're really true to yourself and doing what you want, that stuff's going to come and it's going to be how it is. And you just have to kind of let go and be like, yeah. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it still boggles my mind that I think the last time I looked, it was like I had like 22,000 monthly listeners or something like that. And I'm like, it boggles my mind that I'm just sitting here making crap in my basement, that I'm just doing it. I'm doing it so I don't, it's my peace of mind and it's my way to relax and unwind from the day. And I just release it, hoping somebody else likes it. And that's an amazing amount of people that are just sitting there listening. I'm not, you Mondo Loops, million listeners a month and all that crap. And I don't want to be. I can't be. I don't have the time to be. So it just, I mean, if there's more than 10 people out there listening to my stuff, I'm like, holy crap, y'all are. I'm super appreciative, and I kind of question their taste a little bit, but I'm
Mhm.
super appreciative.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like even just those few words that you said a couple of minutes ago, whenever we were talking about folk hop, you said that you listened to my track and it made you feel happy, and like just that the emotional high I got from just those few words that you said, it's crazy. I mean, just even if one person listens to my music and it makes their day even a little better, I think that's the definition of a successful song, you know?
100%. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
you can make this track, and if 100 people listen to it, but none of them are moved by it, or they don't feel the emotion behind it, and it leaves them emotionless.
Hmm.
It's not a good track. But if even one person listens to it and they leave with a smile on their face, I think, that's the biggest success you could ever have.
Absolutely. One, I don't like to look at numbers and chase numbers because I do feel myself wanting more when I do. But one of my favorite numbers to look at is how many streams per listener. If I see that number sit like 3, 4 streams per listen, I'm like, that's cool. They liked it enough to listen more than once. And that makes me feel so much better than if I had 50,000 streams with one listen per listener or something. So
Yeah, no, I perfectly understand. And so, yeah, Patrick, before we wrap up this interview, are there any final words of wisdom that you have for new producers out there who are just getting into the genre? And so, if you could go back to yourself whenever you started making lo-fi, what would you say?
I would say really reach out, try to talk to other producers, try to learn from, try to collab with them. Even if the collabs don't go anywhere, even if you both decide, hey, this isn't good enough to release, you're still going to learn something out of that, whether it's about yourself or about how you do things. So I think the biggest thing is don't be afraid to reach out and talk to others. Um, don't be a jerk. Always be nice. Everybody else's genre is very nice, so don't be the bad apple that's coming into everything. Um, don't get caught up in the plug-in game. Man, I there for a bit, I was like, I needed every plugin in the world, and I'm like, oh, I need that, I need that. This is gonna make me so much better. This is gonna do this, and now I'd say probably 70% of my workflow is just back to the stock plugins in Cubase. There's some I can't live without, like Soothe and stuff like that. But I use a lot of the stock EQs and stock compressions and stuff like that. So, but that's the big thing is just reach out to others. Don't be afraid to reach out and be true to yourself. Do what makes you happy.
No, that's amazing. But here, thank you so much for this conversation and all of the words of wisdom that you shared. I have to say that this flowed so well. It was great, and I absolutely love talking to you. So,
This was a lot of fun, man. Thanks so much for having me on here, dude. It was a lot of fun. I've listened to every single episode. I love listening to all the guys you've talked to, and yeah, it's just a great thing you're doing here, man. So I hope you keep it up.
oh, thank you. That's such an encouragement. Well, I mean, like with the amount of support that you've given, it's the least I can do to have you on as well as a guest. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy listening to this episode as much as you have to the others.
I might skip this one, man. I've already told you I can't sing. I don't want to hear my own voice.
Well, that's all good. That's all good. But here, thank you so much, Patrick. All the best, and hopefully we'll hear from you again soon. So talk
Sounds
to you
great.
later.
Thanks a ton, man.
Right here. See ya.
See ya.